Hello everybody and welcome back to my Conjuration tree exploration in Ordinator. So before we get into it here, I have some new stuff to talk about. First of all, regarding the Meridia Shrine here, I did reach out and post on the mod page about this issue that I'm having. Nobody else seemed to have the issue. And Ision himself actually chimed in and attempted to help, but no dice, unfortunately. Now, from what I've seen of this actually working, this gem pedestal here is supposed to stay. Whoa! It's supposed to say statue to Meridia. Gem pedestal itself is supposed to be used for the quest itself, but I'm supposed to be able to activate the statue itself, and it's just not letting me do it. I've tried disabling many mods, and I have not been able to pinpoint the right one. I've disabled all the mods that I can think of that might be conflicting with this, and no dice. So that kind of sucks, but it's not a huge deal. I did actually ask Anai Sion if there is like a console command or something that I can type in to just pop up the dialogue asking if I want to become a worshiper of Meridia. I have not heard back yet. I don't know if I will hear back. I know he's a busy man, and he's got a lot to respond to. But he's been trying. Not a big deal. The next thing you may have already noticed, but I got a new microphone. Hopefully this really increases the quality of the voice work here. I got a nice fancy blue Yeti. I got the thing pushed right up against my face on one of these articulated arms here. One of those fancy streaming setups, and I even got a little pop filter on it because I got a discount on all this stuff through Amazon if I bought it together. So I hope that sounds good. I hope the voice quality is a lot better than it was before. And hey, if I get sick of this YouTube thing, maybe I can do some ASMR, like maybe scratch my beard a little bit. This is me scratching my beard in a thunderstorm. Just imagine all my long, bristly beard hairs puncturing your gentle flesh. Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry. I went a little too far with that. Hope that wasn't too awkward. Alright. So the next new thing that I have to talk about is that I got a new controller as well. I got a fancy new wireless Xbox One controller. So the sticks are all nice and new and tight, and they don't get stuck in an activated position, and my character won't start walking away. My lockpicks won't start turning on their own, and all that nonsense. I have not been able to get a Control Freaks adapter for the new controller yet that actually fits, so I might be a little awkward on the camera. So just bear with me while I get used to it or can find a new extension for this controller that actually fits. Also, very recently, there have been two new mods that favor controller users. One of them is iEquip, and I was really excited about this one. I installed it, I was trying to configure it and everything, and it just wasn't working right. And it turns out that it was actually tied to a newer version of the Skyrim SE EXE than what I have. I have been successful in avoiding updates for a very long time now. I'm talking about the Creation Club updates, which is part of the reason why I've been able to keep my game so stable and been able to keep these saves going for so long. So I'm not about to update my EXE and have to go through and update all the mods that are tied to that version of the EXE for this new iEquip mod. It's great once I do update. That's one of the first things I'm going to play with, but for now it doesn't make sense for all that work. It would definitely alleviate my lack of hotkey issues that I'm having. Being that I only have 2 hotkeys because I use a controller. So I'm looking forward to using that when the time comes, but that time is not now. The second mod that I was going to talk about is actually released by the same people. It's called Gamepad++, and it adds the use of extension keys. It remaps the controller a little bit, and it also adds button hot. Okay, let me back up. So it disables the use of the up and down key to bring up the favorites menu like it does by default. Up and down on the directional pad on the computer, I mean. And it turns those into actual hotkeys that you can use. It remaps the favorites menu to something else, and it also unlocks the number keys on the top of the keyboard so that you can assign those even if you are using a controller. The way Gamepad++ works is it also allows you to enter a sequence, or not a sequence, but multiple button presses on those D-pad hotkeys. So instead of just using tapping the left key once to get your left hotkey activated, you can press it twice and it will activate another hotkey. You can press it 3 times in rapid succession and get yet another hotkey, and you can hold on to it and get yet another hotkey. And you can do that for all 4 of the directional buttons, which is super handy. And I was really excited about it. It was working really well. It was working a lot better than the other basic controller remaps that I've tried that add hotkeys. But it has a very major issue with it in that whenever you fast travel, it drops your hotkey selections. It stops working. It doesn't actually drop the selections, but the game fails to recognize your hotkeys at all on the D-pad. It also happens randomly when you enter interiors and leave the interiors into the exterior. So basically, whenever you would see a load screen or load into a new area, there's a very high chance that those hotkeys will be deactivated. And even when you stay in the same area, but access a lot of chests or your follower's inventory menu or anything that brings up an inventory menu, you have a very high chance of losing your hotkeys again. So that was kind of a bummer. It was a disappointment. I was really looking forward to adding it to this character because this character could make such good use of more hotkeys on a controller. But we were doing fine before, and we'll keep doing fine now. That team, the people who are working on that mod, are frequently releasing hotfixes in an attempt to fix this issue. So I'm hoping that it gets fixed soon and I can add it to this game, but otherwise we'll just have to make do with our 2 hotkeys. So that's it for the news. I suppose maybe now we should talk about what we're going to do next. So before we get going any further on some Daedra worshipping action here, let's go ahead and take a quick recap. Oh, what happened here? Well, that was interesting. Okay, let's do a quick recap of our skills and our perks that we have taken. Now, I'm sorry if this gets boring or repetitive going through all this stuff over and over again, but I'm really trying to drill it deep into my own brain as well. So down here at the bottom level, we got some really basic stuff. So the Conjuration Mastery, that basically makes Conjuration spells cheaper, and it makes them last longer. The Dual Casting perk over here, it makes the Conjuration spells stronger, but it makes them more costly if you dual cast them. That helps for minions that you want to last extra long. So plain meld just makes it so that you can summon minions farther away, which is sort of situational, but it does help in situations when you're trying to scout ahead. You can summon a minion in the next room if you're smelling an ambush or something like that, and then you don't have to take the brunt of the attack on that one. Signed in Blood. So this basically acts as an automatic healing mechanism for your conjured Daedra. I don't know if this works for anything other than Atronachs and Dremora, but I think this character would probably mostly focus on those two summons anyway. This does not actually steal health from you, it just stops your health regeneration as it fills itself. Which is very, very handy because your minions are often your frontline tanks, damage absorption. So if you can keep them in the game, then that's very useful. Atromancy. So this just makes your minions last longer, and it lasts almost twice as long at night than it does during the day. So we've decided to make our character nocturnal because of that. So next we have Edge of Oblivion, and this one's really interesting, and I love perks like this because they provide a really powerful effect, but then there's also a trade-off that comes along with it. So this allows us to summon a second minion, and they last longer, but while we don't have a minion under our control, we lose 250 points of armor and half of our magic resistance, which is pretty devastating. So it's in our best interest to keep summons along for the ride as long as possible, and keep them around permanently as we can. So that takes some management of making sure you know when your minions are around, summoning them if you need them, and making sure you have the magicka to do so. So Pact Magic. This one was really interesting to me too. So we were on the hunt for synergy, and this was the first thing that I found that that is sort of an obvious direct synergy with another skill tree, and that's Destruction. So for every friendly conjured Daedra, Atronach or Dremora that you have around you within 30 feet, your destruction spells are 10% more effective. So if you are using this in conjunction with Edge of Oblivion, and you have the right type of summons around, you have a boost of 20% to your destruction spell damage, which is great, actually. So we've been using destruction a little more lately because of that. Now, Maelstrom, this one is also interesting because it leads to a refinement of the last synergy with destruction. So again, when you have friendly conjured Daedra within 30 feet, you gain an extra 30% attack damage. Or I'm sorry, that's wrong. While you charge or concentrate on a spell, your friendly conjured Daedra will gain 30% extra damage if they're within 30% of 30 feet of you. Sorry, I stumbled all over that. So this leads me to believe that to take full advantage of this synergy with destruction, we're going to mostly use concentration spells. So we can be spraying down enemies with, say, flames or frostbite or sparks, and we can be laying on that button, and the whole time we're concentrating on that spell, our minions are going to be 30% stronger, which is a huge boost. And of course, we will be doing more damage with that destruction spell, 10% more for each minion we have activated, or active and around us. So this also leads to a sort of a little gameplay suggestion here. It suggests that you should be fairly close. 30 feet is a pretty lenient radius, but you should be fairly in the thick of it. You don't want to be like way up on a hill, hundreds of feet away while your minions do all the work. You kind of want to be down in there on the front lines, but just make sure that you don't get hit because this character is going to be pretty squishy. Okay, so Elemental Potency, just when you summon an Atronach, that Atronach is going to be a new version called a Potent Atronach that is much stronger. And that feeds into making sure that you're summoning things from Oblivion, namely Daedra and Atronachs, as opposed to the other things that are added by spells like, or packages like Apocalypse spell package that adds things like ghosts and other types of summons that you can conjure up. So this is really begging us to use more vanilla summons. So summon resist is also another thing that greatly strengthens our minions that we're summoning. So now every minion that we have within 75 feet of us gain 50% magic resistance, which is quite a bit, and 300 points of armor, which is also quite a bit. That'll just make them a lot more durable against enemies. They can absorb a lot more damage, and ultimately just stick around a lot longer. And we don't have to manage resummoning them if they are defeated. Unleashed Hell. So this basically gives our Atronachs, and actually it looks like Dremora as well, anything that's summoned from Oblivion, it gives our Atronachs different abilities or different spells that they can cast, as opposed to their basic attack that they always use. And it makes the Dremora stronger in terms of attack damage, and they run around faster. So this kind of shows love to the Dremora conjured minions, whereas Elemental Potency really just focuses on Atronachs. Let's see, that takes care of our summons, our sort of minion branch there. But we also are using bound weapons quite a bit, which it's going to be a little less for the next little stretch here, because we have Dawnbreaker now, and we're going to sort of follow Meridia a little bit. Bound weapon spells now summon mystic weapons, which deal more damage, so basically summoning more powerful versions of our bound weapons. Now they also automatically cast Soul Trap on our targets. So we're very soon after the beginning of this character, or any character concept that you use that focuses on this kind of summoning branch. You're gonna have all the soul gems, all the filled soul gems you could possibly want after a small amount of time. So that goes hand in hand with the next synergy that I identified, which is with enchanting. We're not quite there on the enchanting tree yet. There's a lot there that we don't need, but there's also quite a bit there that does make sense for this character. Rend from this world. Bound weapons banish Conjured Daedra and turn reanimated undead and deal 100 extra damage to non-Conjured Daedra. So this is really situational, but it's really useful when you're fighting necromancers and conjurers, or just random Atronachs that you find milling about in certain areas. They're pretty rare, but they are around. I probably wouldn't be too excited to spend too much to spend a perk point on this particular perk, but it's also required to get to the next stuff, which is really good. Void Burn. This one I like a lot. It adds damage, magical damage over time, but first it drains magicka and stamina. Looks like 15 points per second for 5 seconds. If the enemy runs out of magicka and stamina, then it starts taking it out of their health pool. There is some pretty good synergy with this over in the Alteration tree. Once you get higher in that, you start emitting a field that blocks your enemies from regenerating magicka and stamina. So Alteration is also another really good tree to focus on with the synergy here. Hollow Binding. Bound weapons cut through flesh and spirit, reducing magicka resistance by 30% for 5 seconds. This is awesome. This leads to so much synergy between bound weapons and the destruction magic that we were already focusing on. as well as gives a boost to our Atronachs, because they use elemental magical damage for their attacks. Reducing our enemies' magicka resistance by 30% after we hit them is going to make those minions much more powerful, as will it our own destruction attacks. Now, Dark Whispers. Bound weapons induce a battle rage in the wielder, granting 20% extra damage and 100 points of armor rating for 5 seconds when a target is struck. So this just makes us a more formidable melee warrior when we're using bound weapons, which is great, because as we mentioned before, we want to stick close to our minions in order to both draw power from them and allow them to draw power from us. So being a little less squishy and dealing a little more melee damage is great for that. And then finally we have Covenant of Cold Harbor, which is sort of the ultimate perk in the bound weapons branch of the Conjuration tree. So whenever we whack somebody with a bound weapon and we inflict this hollow binding effect, which reduces magicka resistance, it will reduce the magic resistance even more, another 30%, if we have a summon around us, which is great. So whenever we are around one of our summons and we whack somebody with a bound blade, they're going to have like no magicka resistance whatsoever, so they are going to be even more susceptible to this void burn, and susceptible to our destruction magic, and susceptible to our Atronachs blasting them with their elemental attacks. So we are now 5 levels away from reaching level 100. Now I do have this character uncapped, so I think we can go up to like level 255 on each of the skill trees. So that's not going to be the end of the progression, but it will allow us to take the last perk. We only have one left. That's crazy, right? And this is sort of the ultimate perk for any summoner. So this allows you to reanimate 1 additional minion per 250 points of base magicka for up to 3 additional minions. So this will allow us to be trucking around with, I think, 4 or 5 minions if we have enough magicka for it. So that's why we've been focusing so much of our attribute acquisition for each level into our magicka pool, because we want to be able to take full advantage of this perk when we do take it. Now, why I'm not sure if it's 4 or 5, because obviously 3 additional minions on top of your 1 base minion would be 4. But we also have this Edge of Oblivion perk down here, which gives us an additional minion. So I don't know if this counts toward the maximum that we can take, or if it is really just 3 additional period. Not just for this perk, but 3 additional completely period. That's it. So we'll do some testing around that once we get there. It will be very soon with how fast we are leveling up. One more thing I want to mention here is this Feed the Monster perk. If you feed raw hominid meat, which is available through a certain alchemy perk, if you're using CACO, otherwise you can just harvest raw human meat off of dead humanoid enemies. You can harvest meat from dead humanoid enemies, and then you can actually feed it to your summons, and it makes them stronger. But I think we've established that this character does not want to do that. He doesn't want to be the dissection guy. He doesn't want to get his hands dirty rooting around in corpses. So we're going to save this one for our necromancy playthrough next. So we're going to put that one on the shelf. But it was worth a mention because it does also affect summoned Atronachs. Now, Destruction is leveling up a little slower than I would like, and it's got a lot of breadth to it. So we're gonna focus on that one later, but it's a very important tree for this synergy that we're following here. The next tree that we're focusing on with all these synergies is Alteration, and the most interesting thing I found in synergy with the Conjuration tree is this Spellblade branch here. So this is all about strengthening your character if you want to have a weapon in one hand and a spell in the other, and sort of working that combination. So here, whenever you cast any spell with one hand, you deal 20% more attack damage for 4 seconds. So whenever we cast a destruction spell with, say, our left hand, our attack with our melee attack with either our bound blade or whatever Daedric artifact we might be using in our right hand is going to be 20% more potent. So that's going to help our attack damage a lot, and since we're so squishy, we're really going to need it. So this is another good one. It just reduces armor of nearby enemies within 10 feet by 150 points for 4 seconds. So every time we cast a spell, we are going to be stronger in our melee hand, and enemies are going to be weaker to it, to fit the physical part of the damage anyway. We are at 73. We're looking for 90 up here. So whenever you attack with a weapon, reduces the magic resistance of nearby enemies within 10 feet. So this is just the synergy the other way. Every time we attack with whatever weapon we have in our right hand and make physical contact with our enemy, it's going to make the magic in our left hand much more powerful, and it will also make our elemental Atronachs and magic casting Dremora more powerful as well. So that's good. I've also been happy with this Alter Self branch here. So we were able to resist, I don't remember what it was we took. We'll have to look at the active effects. But it was probably fire and lightning resistance, or fire and electricity resistance, because Magicka, having a pool of Magicka is going to be very important to make sure that we can cast and recast dead minions. And also defensively it helps as well because of some other perks we've taken in this tree, which I will point out as well. So really, health and Magicka are more important to this character than stamina is. So I think those are the two resistances that I took. And I took the Magicka attribute to increase 50 points on this one. I don't know if that counts for our main Magicka pool for the March of Oblivion perk, but we shall find out soon enough on that one. Now, this one I'm also really looking forward to taking. This is Nullifier. This is the one that I mentioned back in the Conjuration tree, where it prevents enemies within 25 feet from regenerating Magicka or stamina. So we'll get more health damage from our bound weapons through the Void Burn perk over there in that tree. Okay, so I also took Wild Shrines. I don't remember really why, other than maybe there's another perk over here. Oh yeah, the Intuitive Magic was what I wanted. I'm sorry, with this new controller, I'm really struggling to hit the perks that I want. So bear with me, please. Okay, so I'm not really into the Wild Shrines thing. If we find them, fine. We just get a permanent bonus to a School of Magic, which is great. We're going to use a lot of different schools of magic in this build. But it's not really something that was super necessary for me. This one's not really super interesting either. It is a very interesting perk on its own, but it's basically just Spell Twine. It's just Spell Twine that you don't have to spend Magicka on. Which is fine. We might take it if we have extra perks. This is the one that I'm really interested in. And this is because we have decided we're mostly using concentration type spells from the Destruction skill tree. And most of those are novice level spells, which still do scale well under Destruction for Ordinator, because in Ordinator, the destruction spells, your destruction spells are all scaled. The damage is scaled according to your destruction level. So it's more like a melee weapon in that regard. So we can use novice level destruction spells for the entire game and be just fine. And with intuitive magic, we can cast it for free. I don't know what rank 2 is on this, but I'm very interested to find out. But the secondary effect that this has is that now we have more magicka in the tank at any given moment. If we lose our Atronachs, or if we lose an Atronach and we want to, or a summon in general, and we need to replenish him. Because again, if we lose all of our summons, we get extremely weak, the character does, and much more squishy than he already is. Let's see what else we have up here. You cannot regenerate magicka, lose 10 points of magicka per second. Okay. So this is more like the vanilla Atronach Stone effect. I'm not really interested in that. Arcane Thesis. Use it to master the spell you're dual casting. Lasts either 20% more powerful or lasts 40% longer. This might be interesting to apply to some of our, or actually one of our destruction spells that we decide we're going to be using most of the time. I don't know which one that one is yet. We'll have to look into the destruction tree a little bit more, but that will make it 20% more powerful, which I think is more important than our summons lasting longer, especially when we get I don't remember what the spells are called, but once you get the do the ritual quests in the Mage's College, you can get the master level spells and you can start casting permanent minions. And even as your Conjuration skill gets higher, you're able to summon minions that last a really long time anyway. So I don't see taking or attaching that to any of the Conjuration spells. And also the Mage Armor stuff over here is really important because this character is very squishy once an enemy gets through his front lines and starts attacking him directly. There's not a lot he can do. So Flesh Armor spells are really important, even if it just allows him to take 1 or 2 extra hits. Distorted Shape is great because it makes you completely intangible and you can't be hit for a full 10 seconds after you gain a flesh spell. So this kind of allows you to be either proactive in attacking your enemy and landing a hit there, or by gaining a better advantage or position on the battlefield, and sort of allow your Atronachs to take aggression away from your enemies. And this is the other perk that I was talking about, which we want to keep our magicka tank full for. This sort of acts as a force field. Our magicka reserves kind of act as a force field for us. If you're not wearing any armor, it reduces incoming attack or elemental damage by 35%, but then you're losing the magicka equal to the amount of health you would have lost. So this just adds a little bit more defense, which is sorely needed. So Alteration is getting pretty full here as well. So that's good. I know that there's also some pretty good juice here in Restoration as far as making friendly characters stronger, and that includes minions. So we'll be looking through this as well. And Illusion does the same thing. So I am going to look forward to looking at those too. So we still got a lot of content to cover in this series, but it's all in the name of education, and I'm really looking forward to finally learning all of these perk trees so that I can get into creating some truly interesting character concepts and producing some truly interesting gameplay for everybody to watch using this game as a platform. Okay, so that was a long-winded lecture, and I apologize for that. So here we are in Hafengar, and we have just completed the Meridia quest. We have Dawnbreaker now, so we're going to be doing some Meridia-inspired stuff. It's a shame that we don't have Wintersun working for Meridia for whatever reason. That would be more explicit in what we are doing. But for now, we're just going to use Dawnbreaker, and we are going to try killing undead, and that should be good enough, I think, for now. So we're going to see what kind of synergy we have between Zim's Immersive Artifacts version of Dawnbreaker and our own spells and stuff that we know. Okay, so let's go to Solitude and pick up some quests. There's some good undead stuff over there. Okay, so if that isn't a big hint at what we're going to be doing, then I don't know what it is.
You're asking for trouble walking around with dangerous magic like that.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? Anyway, I hear you're looking for some help with the Wolf Skull Cave.
You mean the Dragon Bridge issue? I'll be honest with you. I was planning to let that go. Barnius is a bit jumpy at the best of times.
I'll cut the guy some slack.
Weird happenings in Wolf Skull Cave. Travelers disappearing, odd lights. I suspect wild animals, or perhaps bandits. I don't think it's worth our time with the war going on. But if you want to clear out the cave, I'm sure you'll repay for your work.
Excellent. I'm also looking for work. Do you guys have any leads?
The Jarl has put out a bounty on some bandits. Here, take a look at this decree.
Broken Ore Grotto. Oh, that's a fun one. Okay, now we have to go catch up with Sabile.
If I needed something from you, you would know it.
What's your problem?
Nothing. I'm busy, and I don't like being bothered unless I'm expecting something. Oh, don't give me that look. We have something of a vampire problem. Bodies have been found with blood drained. I know the den nearby you can wipe out as a precaution.
Well, I'll see what I can do.
I don't expect you to be capable of even that.
Oh, please. Let's see here. Let's see if she's got any of the spells that we're missing.
I had you figured for a mage. I think you'll appreciate this.
I think we still need Sparks, the novice level destruction spell, with the electricity elemental damage. There it is. Wards, I'm not gonna mess with right now. Let's see, flesh spells. We have stone flesh, but do we have iron flesh? No iron flesh yet. How about a frost atronach? No. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Alright, that should be good. But we do have a lot of money, so let's go ahead and train destruction up a little bit so we don't have to... wait for it to level up on my own. I might actually boost destruction progression, just because it's going a little slower than I would have liked. There we go. Alright, so now we do have some undead to go slay, which is nice for a follower of Meridia, or at least an idea anyway. I did download Facelight. I should probably download that, or I'm sorry, install that. Connor does have a lot of darkness that seems to follow his face around, and he only gets lit up by the flame Atronachs he's conjured. So I might do that. I don't know how important that is for this kind of series, but okay. So there are a couple more things that I want to do. Let's go ahead and go into magic. Okado's Recital. So I want to actually cast Flame Atronachs every time we enter combat. I want to test it with this character. That will help level our Conjuration skill quite a bit faster, since now we're going to be summoning new Atronachs every single time we enter combat. And Flame Atronachs work really well against undead, because undead are weak to fire. Okay, so we need to assign Okado's Recital to the right hand. We need to assign Flame Atronach to our left hand. And alley-oop. Oh, we can't store it. That's a bummer. That makes me wonder if it will let me do Bound Sword. Now, I still do plan on using Dawnbreaker, but I do want to test this out. So let's assign that. Ah, that did let us do it. So we have 3 of 3 spells stored now. We have Stone Flesh, we have Soul Cloak, which allows us to cast Soul Trap on all the enemies around us so that we can use Dawnbreaker and still gather souls in our empty soul gems. Which reminds me, I forgot to buy up Sabiel's empty soul gems, but that's not a big deal. So I want to see this in action now. I want to see which hand that Bound Sword gets attached to. Because if you remember, when we tried to dual cast Bound Sword, it was assigned to our left hand somehow. So I just want to make sure that Okado's Recital doesn't also put it in the left hand, which will be annoying. Okay, so also what I did, because I felt like it would help me out a lot with this, is I went ahead and enabled all the map markers. We're not doing much of a roleplay here. There's some stuff that happens on the road. There's a lot more stuff that happens on the road now with Immersive World Encounters installed. But we're not really all about that right now for this playthrough. We're mostly focused on our perks. So let's go ahead and do the Man Who Cried Wolf and the Vampire Den. What should we do first? Let's get the Potema stuff going, because there's a second part to that quest that's on a timer. So let's get that out of the way first. Excellent. Ah, okay, so it does cast into the right hand, which is great. Outstanding. Okay, so now, since I want to use Dawnbreaker, I am going to need to completely reset Okado's Recital. So, back here to magic, we are going to put Okado's Recital in the right hand, and we are going to empty our left hand, and we're going to clear out Okado's Recital. All spells removed. And then we have to put back in Stone Flesh. Oh man, what the hell happened there? A Boethia cultist. Oh, that's good. Dawnbreaker. Suplex. Suplexed him all the way back to oblivion. Okay, now I think that there is an incompatibility between Winter Sun, and the choice is yours on this. So I'm going to take the book, but I'm not going to read it just yet until I can get that figured out. But we'll take all his valuables here. Where were we? Yeah, Okado's recital. So we got Stoneflesh hooked up. Now we need Soul Cloak, I believe it was, right? That's a bummer that you can't attach any kind of conjured Atronachs to Okado's recital. Not a huge deal, though. Again, at some point we're going to get a spell that will conjure pretty much permanent Atronachs for us, if we choose to have them. Where is Soul Cloak? There we are. Okay, and since we have our soul or our stone flesh activated, I think we are ready to rock. Anybody? No? Okay, sorry. I'll stop. We'll have flames ready to go. Oh, you know what? We should also go ahead and refresh our Atronachs here. There we go. Flames in one hand for the undead, and Dawnbreaker in the other. Now these are mostly going to be necromancers. So honestly, a bound sword would probably be a better choice here. Ooh, and we need some light here too. Don't care about the iron battle axe. So bound sword would be a better choice here, for the most part, just in case these necromancers decide to reanimate anybody. But there are just as many Draugr, which is why I'm choosing Dawnbreaker, and that was a big chunk of damage there with the first hit from Dawnbreaker, wasn't it? Don't know where my minions are, but they could have helped a lot. Alright, minions, where are ya? They're attacking from afar, wherever they... Oh, yeah, there they are. Okay. There you go. Keep hitting them. Oh, here it comes. Oh. We're dying a lot. Okay. Potent potion of health. Do we have any other health? Weak draft of health? Sure. There we go. We don't have a big health pool, so it doesn't take a whole lot to get filled up. Aha. Okay, there we go. Well, that was a rough fight, wasn't it? The magic resistance did help. Oh, by the way, I did take frost magic for some reason. I think it was just because I was encountering more frost magic than anything else. For that alteration perk that allowed you to choose your resistances. Okay. Let's make sure these Draugr are good and looted. Nothing good. I'm really disappointed in you guys. You should follow me down here. I really can't wait till I can get a Frost Atronach. They tank so much better because they are melee. Alright, anything good up here before we head down? Let's go ahead and cast some Atronachs down there to cast or to scout the area for us. Where are these guys ending up? Seriously, are they invisible or are they spawning up there somewhere? Oh, that's so annoying. I mean, that's not just me, right? That's super annoying. Okay. Done this quest enough that I should know the layout of this place, but I don't, obviously. In order to get our Conjuration skill to keep increasing, we need to make sure we are casting lots of Atronachs, because we don't have the Bound Blade to lean on here. Yeah, so I did take Frost Resistance, but I think I made the wrong decision there. I think I should take Fire Resistance, just because health and magicka are more important to this character than is stamina. And I'm looking for this Atronach that died, or not the Atronach, the Conjurer up here that died, and I can't find him anywhere. Do you guys see him? Maybe he fell through the floor. Let's use instincts to see if we can find the dead body. There he is.
Wolf Queen, hear our call and awaken. Summon.
Love those explosions that the Atronachs cast.
No longer. Hear us, Wolf Queen. We summon you. We summon Emma.
Okay, and playstyle for this is switching up destruction and melee attacks as much as possible, because that's how you get the boost. Attacking with destruction makes your melee attack stronger, and attacking with your melee attacks make your destruction stronger. So mix it up. Okay, we're gonna want some new minions, I think, just to get the Conjuration leveling up. Here we go. There you go. Get him. Oh, and it's been a while since I saved. Let's quick save it. Okay, get out of there. And where are my Atronachs? Here they are. They really seem to get stuck on terrain a lot, don't they? I don't know if they're trying to keep their range, which I know they like to do, or if they're just getting hung up. Well, no, I think they're just trying to maintain cover. Man, Connor loves using the Nux, doesn't he? She had a ward going. Okay, let's get out of the way here. Alright, the Atronachs are getting a little more aggressive, which is nice. This guy counts as undead, so there we go. Dawnbreaker's doing its job. Very nice. Got anything else up there? Oh, yeah. Nice to get an actually appropriate kill move there. Alright, looting the good stuff. Healing. Okay, the Atronachs are blowing up somebody else here. Okay. They were being a little proactive there. I like that. They were going after the Conjurers up on the top of the tower there. Which is odd, because those guys are usually stuck in their little ritual animation. Until you actually get right up to them and start fighting them head on. I might experiment with some spell research stuff with this guy. I wouldn't do that on camera, at least not for this series. It's too time consuming. But in a real playthrough, I would be very happy to use the spell research mod in order to gain new spells. Sounds like they're still fighting people over there, huh? Well, I suppose that's why they're called minions, right? Do my bidding, minions. Although I do like Zim's change to Dawnbreaker with the first attack with the sword being very powerful against undead. It has that very satisfying crunchy explosion. Oh. Still have my healing spell active. That was done. Was that it? Is that everybody? Lots of fiery explosions all over the place. I like it. Making Meridia proud. Ooh, there's a sky shard. Another third of the way to a new perk. Can't complain about that. And another skill book, so let's go ahead and get into our pray pose. That power changed from meditate to pray as part of the new Winter Sun update that just recently came out. I updated my copy of it trying to fix the Meridia issue that I was having. You know, oh, I did get a level up. I was going to say, I'm surprised that I haven't leveled up. I did, and I just missed it. Oh, well. Spell research stuff. I got some encumbrance to spare there. Got some new stuff to disenchant. Empty soul gems. Yada yada. All good stuff. We'll take all of it. Okay, now we need to return to Falk, and we'll get this timer going for the second part of this quest here. And then we have some vampires to go hunt down. Am I going the right way for this? No, I always go the wrong way coming back out of this place. As many times as I've done it, I don't know that I've ever picked the right way to get out on my first try ever. Okay, what time is it? Is it late enough now that the vendors are actually open? Ooh, not quite. But they might be by the time we get back to Solitude. Okay, back at the Blue Palace, we are going to turn in our quest to Falk. We are going to level up. We're going to sell off as much as we can to Sabile. We're going to buy some... Oh, there's Falk. We're going to buy some empty soul gems.
Please tell me you've done a larger
Sorry if I'm just blowing through this stuff. I assume that an 8-year-old game at this point, there's not many spoilers left or too many people who haven't experienced this stuff, but if you haven't and this is the first time you're seeing all this, I'm sorry that I'm going really quickly through it, but it's not really what I'm focused on for this playthrough.
That looks dangerous. Keep your distance.
Okay, let's disenchant, level up, sell off our stuff, buy some empty soul gems. Black mage robes, minor conjuration, that would be good, huh? I think we're wearing this one, so we're gonna keep that around. Or maybe we're wearing the necromancer robes. Okay, we'll have to take a look. Lots of delicious enchantment levels there too. What are we wearing, Jake from State Farm? Okay, major conjuration. So that neophyte one we can actually, or necrolite, right. This is a great enchantment. Crap, I kind of want to wear it now. Major conjuration, yeah, I would rather be able to cast more summon spells more frequently. But that's a good endgame enchantment there. Okay, we bought all of Sabiel's empty soul gems. And we sold her all the stuff that we can sell her that we looted at Wolf Skull Cave. So let's go ahead and level up. Gonna go ahead and flood Magicka here. We leveled up twice. That is awesome. Let's see. Did we hit Conjuration 100? Ooh, we're not even close. Alright, we have to be better about casting our Atronachs here. Yeah, we went up from 95 to 96.5, which is like nothing. Damn you, Meridia. Alright. So let's focus on alteration. What can we take here? Nothing good up here. How about this stuff? We didn't need the Dormant Arcana. Intuitive Magic, definitely want that. Novice and Apprentice spells of any school cost 100% less magic at a cast. Okay, that could be helpful too. Nope, didn't want to take that. That might be interesting, but that's a while away. Okay, cool. So now we can cast our novice level destruction spells for free. And what do we have coming up at 80 here? So one more level, we can take 200% stronger flesh spells. And free apprentice level spells to cast. Excellent. We are waiting for 90 for rend resistances and 90 for nullifier, which I think are the final two things that we actually want to take here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and bank that perk, that last perk, for the stronger flesh spell, the third rank in mage armor there. And then we might have to take some perks in some other trees after that. Okay, so I think I have talked your ear off for long enough. I'm going to go ahead and cut this episode here. Off camera, I'm going to go ahead and sell off all my loot and everything. And next episode, I think I will see you outside of Pine Moon Cave. And we'll take on some vampires. Alright, so thanks again for watching and see you next time. Take care.